Barbados and Saint Kitts and Nevis.
Table of Contents. Barbados and St. Kitts and Nevis.
All about Barbados and Saint Kitts and Nevis. With visiting and touring information. Geography. History. Attractions. And other points of interest.
Dr. Sydney Soclof. Dr. Sydney 22 at gmail.com. 2023. Narration by Dr. Sydney Soclof.
Zoe Phonemes.
And Nathan Koltove. For a complete discussion of YouTube navigation, please go to tiny.1/ytnavigator. Introduction to Barbados.
The trident centered within the flag represents the mythological Neptune, the god of the sea. The 3 points of the trident represent in Barbados the 3 principles of democracy: government of, for and by the people. The vertical band of gold represents the sands of Barbados beaches. The gold band itself is surrounded on both sides by vertical bars of ultramarine blue representing the sea and sky of Barbados.
The coat of arms depicts 2 animals that are supporting the shield. On the left is a dolphin, symbolic of the fishing industry and the sea-going past of Barbados. On the right is a pelican, suggestive of a small island named Pelican Island that once existed off the coast of Bridgetown. Above the shield is the helmet of Barbados with an extended arm clutching 2 sugar cane stalks. On the base of the coat of arms reads, "Pride and Industry," in reference to the country's motto.
The golden shield in the coat of arms carries 2 Pride of Barbados flowers, and the bearded fig tree, Ficus citrifolia or Ficus barbata, which was common on the island at the time of its settlement by the British, and may have contributed to Barbados being so named. Barbados is an island nation in the Lesser Antilles. Barbados, situated just east of the Caribbean Sea, is an independent island nation in the western Atlantic Ocean.
Barbados is the easternmost island in the Caribbean. Its closest island neighbors are St. Vincent and St. Lucia to the west. To the south lies Trinidad and the South American mainland. Barbados is often spared the worst effects of the region's tropical storms and hurricanes during the rainy season. Its far eastern location in the Atlantic Ocean is just outside the principal hurricane strike zone, and one only hits about every 26 years.
Barbados was a British colony for over 300 years until it gained independence from the United Kingdom in 1966. The influence of the English on Barbados is more noticeable than on other islands in the West Indies.
Signs of the British heritage are everywhere, from the island's Anglican churches to the national sport of cricket. Barbados is referred to by its neighbors as Little England. Barbados is relatively small, measuring only 14 miles, 23 kilometers, across from east to west and 21 miles, 34 kilometers, from north to south. Barbados has a population of about 280,000. Close to 90% of all Barbadians, also known colloquially as Bajan, are of African descent, Afro-Bajans, primarily descendants of the slave laborers on the sugar plantations. The remainder of the population includes groups of Europeans, Anglo-Bajans, Euro-Bajans, Asians, Bajan Hindus and Muslims, and an influential Middle Eastern, Arab Bajans, group mainly of Syrian and Lebanese descent. The official language of Barbados is English, but most Bajans speak in their national dialect, which is referred to as Bajan. In religion, most Barbadians are Protestant Christians, 67%, chiefly of the Anglican Church, but there are other Protestant, Roman Catholic, Jehovah's Witness, Hindu, Muslim and Jewish minorities. Like many other islands in the Caribbean, Barbados is predominantly composed of coral and limestone. Some parts of the island's interior are also dotted with large sugar-cane estates and wide pastures with many good views of the sea. Barbados is generally flat along the coast and hilly in the interior. Mount Hillaby, the highest point, rises to 340 meters, 1,115 feet.
Quiet beaches lie along the western and southern coasts, while the east coast facing the Atlantic is rugged and rocky. Barbados is largely surrounded by coral reefs.
Water runs through the coral and limestone rather than collecting on the surface, so the island has hardly any rivers and little other surface water. Deep gullies in the limestone channel most rainwater down to the coast, and there are underground reserves of fresh water. Other limestone features are the caves with stalactites and stalagmites.
Sugar cane dominated the economy of Barbados for years, but tourism surpassed sugar in economic importance during the 1970s. Tourism has grown steadily in volume, and the island now ranks as one of the most popular destinations in the West Indies.
Barbados has one of the highest standards of living and literacy rates in the world and, according to the United Nations Development Program, is currently the #1 developing country in the world. Barbados's Human Development Index ranking is consistently among the top 50 globally and third in the Americas, behind Canada and the United States.
Bridgetown. The capital and principal city of Barbados is Bridgetown. Almost half of the island's population lives in the metropolitan area of Bridgetown, with a population of 110,000.
Bridgetown was founded by the British in 1628. It is a major West Indies tourist destination.
Bridgetown is an important financial and convention center in the Caribbean region. This is the Chamberlain Bridge.
This is Trafalgar Square, Heroes Square, in Bridgetown.
Map of downtown Bridgetown.
This is Nelson's statue in National Heroes Square in Bridgetown.
This is a view of Bridgetown.
This is a view along the waterfront at the mouth of the Constitution River in Bridgetown. These are yachts moored on the wharf in Bridgetown.
The capital of Barbados got its name from a Native American bridge that crossed the mouth of the Constitution River. Today 2 bridges cross the small ship basin. This is Broad Street in Bridgetown.
This is a map of downtown Bridgetown.
The Pink Da Costa building, built in 1898, is a good example of colonial architecture.
The Da Costa building is now a shopping arcade on Broad Street.
This is an example of colonial architecture on the corner of Broad and McGregor.
This is the Barbados Insurance Society building on Lower Broad Street.
This is a building with a balcony on Swan Street.
Bridgetown is home to the oldest synagogue in the Western Hemisphere. It dates from 1654, though the current structure was erected in 1833, replacing one destroyed by the hurricane of 1831.
Tombstones in the adjacent cemetery date from the 1630s. The site was abandoned in 1929 but saved and restored by the Jewish community in 1983 and is now under the protection of the Barbados National Trust.
While it is called the Montefiore Fountain, there is no water to be seen. It was a drinking fountain in 1865, when given to the city by Jewish businessman John Montefiore in his father's memory. However, it was initially on Broad Street and only moved to its present position near the synagogue in 1940.
Independence Arch and Parliament Building. This arch was built in 1987 to commemorate 21 years of independence, gained on November 30, 1966. Reliefs of the flying fish and pelican, two symbols of Barbados, adorn the two pillars. Shown here are Lewis Wickham Boardwalk, Hero Square and the Treasury Building.
This is the Parliament Building.
This is a map of downtown Bridgetown.
These are the Parliament buildings in Heroes Square.
This is the National Heroes Cenotaph and Parliament Building in Bridgetown.
This is the Barbados Parliament Building. This is the Bridgetown Market.
This is Queen's Park.
This is a map of downtown Bridgetown.
This is a giant baobab tree. Some sources say this tree, about 18 meters in circumference, came from Africa on a slave ship. Other sources report that the baobab is over 1,000 years old and speculate that the seed floated over on its own. The Tyrell-Cott House and Heritage Village is a museum in Bridgetown with Georgian-style chattel houses and a mansion built in 1854. On the grounds of the Tyrell-Cott Heritage Village are a collection of chattel houses now run as craft shops. There is also an 1820 stone and straw slave quarters, a blacksmith's museum, a carriage house and stables, and even an original outhouse.
The chattel house at Tyrell-Cott is typically Barbadian, built to be moved as the owner moved between leased lots. Their small size was dictated by several reasons.
First, farm workers did not own the land on which they lived. If they changed employment, their house would have to be small enough to move to the next estate.
A second factor was that materials we imported by ship in standard sizes, which dictated dimensions. Nonetheless, builders mimicked symmetrical Georgian styles in miniature.
This is a chattel house near Horse Hill in the Barbados style.
This is a stone and grass hutch used for slave quarters, now exhibited in the Tyrell-Cott Heritage Village. The Franche plantation is a blend of both French and Barbadian architecture. The Gun Hill signal station was built in 1818 and used to signal the approach of enemy ships and the safe arrival of cargo ships. It was restored in 1982. The history of Barbados.
In 1536, Portuguese explorer Pedro Campos first sighted Barbados.
Pedro Campos called the island Los Barbados, the bearded ones, upon seeing the appearance of the island's fig trees whose long hanging aerial roots, he thought, resembled beards. Between 1536 and 1550, Spanish conquistadors seized many Caribs on Barbados and used them as slave labor on plantations. Other Caribs fled the island, moving elsewhere. British sailors landed on Barbados in the 1620s at present-day Hall Town on the Caribbean coast. They found the island uninhabited. Barbados was under uninterrupted British control from the arrival of the first British settlers in 1627 and 1628 until independence in 1966. Barbados always enjoyed a considerable measure of local autonomy. Its House of Assembly began meeting in 1639.
The sugar industry has developed into the leading commercial enterprise of Barbados.
Barbados was divided into large plantation estates that replaced the small holdings of the early British settlers. To work the plantations, West Africans were transported and enslaved on Barbados and other Caribbean islands.
The slave trade ceased in 1804. 30 years later, in 1834, slavery was abolished in the British Empire.
From 1958 to 1962, Barbados was one of the 10 members of the West Indies Federation. When the federation was dissolved, Barbados reverted to its former status as a self-governing colony. In 1966, Barbados became an independent state within the British Commonwealth of Nations, now known as just the Commonwealth of Nations.
King Charles III is nominally recognized as King of Barbados. Head of state is represented by a Governor-General in Barbados. The king is styled by the grace of God, King of Barbados and of his other realms and territories, head of the Commonwealth.
The money of Barbados. The Barbados dollar, currency code BBD, has been the currency of Barbados since 1972. It is usually abbreviated with the dollar sign, or BDS, to distinguish it from other dollar-denominated currencies. It is divided into 100 cents. The Barbados dollar has been pegged to the US dollar at $1 equals 2 BBD since 1975.
This is a 2 BBD banknote worth $1.
Saint Kitts and Nevis.
The Federation of St. Christopher and Nevis, or the Federation of Saint Kitts and Nevis, is an island nation in the Caribbean Sea. The Federation of St. Christopher and Nevis, or the Federation of Saint Kitts and Nevis, is in the Leeward Islands of the Lesser Antilles. This shows the location of Saint Kitts and Nevis in the Leeward Islands of the Lesser Antilles.
Saint Kitts and Nevis are in the region of French West Indies, along with Saint Martin, Saint Barts, Guadeloupe, and Martinique, although they are not associated with France. This is the smallest nation in the Western Hemisphere. The capital city of Basseterre and the government for the federated state is mainly on the larger island of St. Kitts, formerly named St. Christopher. The smaller state of Nevis lies about 2 miles, 3 kilometers, southeast of St. Kitts. The total area is only 1.5 times the size of Washington, D.C. The islands are tiny, not more than 5 miles wide.
The state of Nevis was initially named Nuestra Señora de las Nieves.
Alexander Hamilton, the first United States Secretary of the Treasury, was born on Nevis and spent his childhood there.
The islands are of volcanic origin, with prominent central peaks covered in jungle. The steep slopes leading to these peaks are mostly uninhabited. Most of the population on both islands live close to the sea, where the terrain flattens.
The country is an independent Commonwealth realm with King Charles III as its head of state, represented in Saint Kitts and Nevis by a Governor-General, who acts on the advice of the Prime Minister and the Cabinet. The population of Saint Kitts and Nevis is 50,000. The sugar plantations on Saint Kitts and Nevis were shut down in 2005 due to no longer being profitable.
The primary industry is now tourism.
Saint Kitts was the first British colony in the Caribbean in 1623. After much fighting with the French, it was settled as British in 1783.
Saint Kitts and Nevis gained independence from Britain in 1983.
Basseterre.
This is Basseterre from a distance. This is Basseterre.
This is Basseterre. Almost half of the total population of the two islands live in the capital city of Basseterre. Almost half of the total population of the two islands live in the capital city of Basseterre.
This is the center square of Basseterre, called the Circus. This is a map of Basseterre. This is the center square of Basseterre, called the Circus. This is the center square of Basseterre, called the Circus.
This is the Sintesqua of Basseterre.
This is the town center of Basseterre. This is downtown Basseterre.
This is downtown Basseterre.
This is a house in Basseterre.
This is the east coast of Nevis.
Money of Saint Kitts and Nevis.
Currency exchange rates can change daily. For the latest exchange rate, go to xe.com for conversion to XCD. The currency of the Federation of Saint Kitts and Nevis is the East Caribbean dollar, which is the official currency of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. The East Caribbean dollar has been pegged to the US dollar at $1 equals 2.7 XCD since 1976. Climate.
The climate of Barbados. Will it be hot, or will it be cold in Barbados? Here are the average high and low temperatures in degrees Fahrenheit throughout the year in Bridgetown, Barbados.
Here are the average high and low temperatures in degrees Celsius throughout the year in Bridgetown.
The rainfall in Bridgetown.
Here is the average rainfall in inches throughout the year in Bridgetown. The total yearly rainfall is 46.7 inches, or 1,180 millimeters.
Here is the average rainfall in millimeters throughout the year in Bridgetown.
Here is the average number of days per month, with precipitation, throughout the year in Bridgetown. The climate of Saint Kitts and Nevis. Will it be hot, or will it be cold in Basseterre? Here are the average high and low temperatures in degrees Fahrenheit throughout the year in Basseterre.
Here are the average high and low temperatures in degrees Celsius throughout the year in Basseterre. The rainfall in Basseterre.
Here is the average rainfall in inches throughout the year in Basseterre. The total yearly rainfall is 45.8 inches, or 1,165 millimeters.
Here is the average rainfall in millimeters throughout the year in Basseterre. Here is the average number of days per month, with precipitation, throughout the year in Basseterre.
Recommended videos, Barbados. Recommended video, Top 10 Things to Do in Barbados. Recommended video, 13 Top Places to Visit in Barbados. Recommended video, Bridgetown, Barbados. 9 of the best things to do in Bridgetown.
Recommended video, The Complete History of Barbados.
Recommended videos, Saint Kitts and Nevis.
Recommended video, Saint Kitts Island Guide. Recommended video, 10 Reasons Why People Love Saint Kitts and Nevis.
Recommended video, 9 Best Things to Do in Saint Kitts and Nevis.
Recommended video, Geography Now. Saint Kitts and Nevis.
Recommended video, A Super Quick History of Saint Kitts and Nevis.
Recommended video, YouTube Navigation.
Recommended videos, Walking Tours of Bridgetown. For a street-level experience of Bridgetown, view the video Walking Tours. It's the next best thing to being there.
Recommended videos, Walking Tour of Bridgetown playlist. Recommended videos, Walking Tours of Basseterre. For a street-level experience of Basseterre, view the video Walking Tours. It's the next best thing to being there.
Recommended videos, Walking Tour of Basseterre playlist. Recommended videos. For an immersion into the traditional music of the Caribbean, view the playlist. It's the next best thing to being there. Recommended videos, The Music of the Caribbean.
Table of Contents. Barbados and St. Kitts and Nevis.
Thanks for watching. Please watch some more of my great videos.